Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the State's Department. Last fall, we convened the first meeting of the C5+1, we being +1, in Samarkand, which is an ancient crossroads of culture and commerce, where we discussed modern challenges of economic prosperity and global security and how to address them. And the six of us engaged in a very frank and important dialogue about how best to counter violent extremism in each of our countries, how to spur sustainable growth across Central Asia, and how to reverse environmental degradation in the region and combat climate change worldwide. It was really a precedent-setting meeting, and I think the first time we have gathered the 5 Central Asian countries with the United States in an effort to figure out how we can cooperate more effectively and how we could engage in mutual development enterprises. And in fact, we are now going to be able in the course of the day to announce major steps forward in that regard. What our discussion showed was really how broad our relationships are. And they extend beyond just government cooperation to include partnerships between U.S. businesses and sectors in each of the nations represented here, all of which deal with clean energy, information technology, financial services, and more. And this component of our collaboration is going to continue later today when each of the ministers here will meet with Energy Secretary Ernie Moniz and American executives in order to explore new opportunities for investment. I think the fact that the 6 of us are sitting here like this in Washington talking about these issues underscores what President Obama and Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee, were saying yesterday about the global market and the realities of the global world, the global exchanges that we all are engaged in today's world. More than anything, our inaugural gathering of this group established the C5+1 as a vital platform for action designed to protect our citizens, build shared prosperity, and strengthen the diplomatic ties between us. So today, we hope to make further progress through a new regional approach built around initiatives on counterterrorism, trade and investment, economic development, and clean energy. And one program that we will do is initiate a dialogue within the Global Counterterrorism Forum to assist Central Asian states in combating radicalization and reduce the threat that is posed by foreign terrorist fighters. A second project is aimed at increasing trade in key sectors of our economies and making our economies more competitive. A third will center on improving the transportation and logistics sectors that are essential to a healthy and a dynamic marketplace. And finally, the U.S. will partner with each of the countries here to develop cleaner, renewable energy sources that can power everybody's future while reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So we intend to support each of your nations as you adapt to the new standards that are needed to head off the threats that are posed by the warming of the planet, by global climate change. And to help these efforts get off the ground, I can announce today that the United States intends to invest $15 million in this initiative in order to make sure that we get it off the ground as rapidly and effectively as possible. The cooperation in each of the areas that I have just talked about is essential, but make no mistake, our work together is not going to prevent us from continuing the dialogue that we've already engaged in on other issues of concern, including the need for transparency and accountability in governance and the importance of such basic human rights as freedom of religion, speech, and association. What is clear is that all of the measures that we are going to discuss this morning are rooted in mutual interests, and they are focused on the same goal that has been at the forefront of our relationship for these past 25 years, and that is a focus on a region that is secure, prosperous, and well-governed. Every one of the steps that we are talking about grows out of a fundamental principle of our foreign policy, that we support without hesitation the sovereignty, the territorial integrity, and the independence of each Central Asian state. And all of the states, I believe, and all of the principles that we are organizing around are intended to help form the foundation of a lasting partnership between the United States and your countries. Meeting our shared aims is going to demand a common effort. It's going to demand working effectively together. It's going to demand a commitment. It's also going to demand our skill as diplomats. A 11th century poet, Yusuf Khas Hajib, once wrote, "A diplomatic envoy ought to be the choicest of mankind, wise, intelligent, and courageous." Describing everybody here, right? Today, that's a high standard, obviously, but I think that without any humor, I would say that we need, at this moment in the world's current trajectory, to find all the wisdom that we can and all the strength and courage that we can. There are tough choices, but I am convinced that we can make great progress on all of the challenges that we share together. And I really look forward to working with each and every one of you in that effort. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Turkmen Foreign Minister, Rashid Meredov, for his opening remarks, and then I'll introduce each foreign minister.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. John Kerry, Secretary of State, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me express my appreciation to the Secretary of State for the invitation to visit Washington, D.C., and for organizing this meeting. As it is known, the initiative to establish C5+1 as a new format of the partnership was announced in order to enhance cooperation between Central Asian countries and the United States. And the Secretary of State said about it now very clearly. In this regard, the first meeting of foreign ministers was held on November 1st, 2015 in Samarkand, where an agreement was reached on further development of multilateral cooperation between the United States and Central Asia. During the negotiations and subsequent consultations, we identified key areas for future cooperation, such as security, economy, environment, and climate change. It is expected that the partnership in each of these areas will be carried out in a regional context, taking into account global trends and based on international law, in particular on decisions of the United Nations. Each of these areas is certainly important. First of all, prior attention should be paid to the strengthening cooperation to ensure stability and security in Central Asia and neighboring areas. Herewith, we should come out from the fact that terrorism, in all of its forms, becomes the most serious threat to international peace and stability. Our countries permanently declare their strong condemn to terrorism, participating in international efforts aimed at combating this evil and conducting on national level necessary counter-terrorism measures. However, in order to respond more effectively to the challenges posed by terrorist threats, it is necessary to improve the forms and methods of multilateral anti-terrorist activities in the region. We have already started this work several years ago. On November 13, 2011, the international high-level meeting organized by United Nations Regional Center for Preventive Diplomacy for Central Asia took place in Ashgabat, and it was devoted to the implementation of the United Nations Global Counter-Terrorism Strategy. During this forum, the implementation of the strategy has been given a distinct regional context through adaptation of the Ashgabat Declaration in support of the Plan of Action for Regional Cooperation in the field of counterterrorism. I hope that further coordinated actions to promote regional cooperation in this field, including those in the C5+1 format, as well as initiatives and recommendations which will be discussed today, are to contribute in strengthening security in the region of the Central Asia. Economic relations are another relevant direction of partnership between Central Asian countries and the United States. In order to promote this relationship, in 2004, our countries signed trade and investment framework agreement based on which new favorable conditions for the development of economic ties were established. In particular, over the past 12-year period, new forms of institutional cooperation were launched for the establishment of large-scale and long-term business contacts. Therefore, we consider the TIFA agreement as an effective mechanism of multilateral collaboration between countries of Central Asia and the United States in the areas of trade and economy. At the same time, we consider it reasonable to apply positive experience of joint activities within the TIFA to develop partnerships in specific segments of economies. We are ready for discussion and careful examination of the proposed projects in this regard to prove their effectiveness and relevance. Another important area of cooperation between our countries is ecology. I am confident that in this sphere we have great potential which could be released through the development and implementation of practically important joint projects. In this regard, I hope for a comprehensive and constructive exchange of views on environmental and climate change issues within current meeting. In conclusion, on behalf of the Turkmen delegation, I would like to express our gratitude to American colleagues for excellent working conditions created. Thank you very much.
Rashid, thank you very much. Very much appreciate those comments. Now my pleasure to introduce Foreign Minister of Uzbekistan, Foreign Minister Abdulaziz Kamilov.
Thank you. Dear Mr. Secretary of State, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to greet you, the heads of the delegation of Central Asian countries, and thank the State Department and personally the Secretary of State John Kerry for the hospitality and organization of the official C5+1 ministerial meeting. Today I would like to note that for over the short period which has passed since our Samarkand meeting, we have been able to jointly and productively work and prepared today's agenda. We consider that above all, as a result of more than 25-year consistent development of mutual relations among the countries of our region and the United States. It's also important that the states of Central Asia have accumulated the considerable experience of a constructive partnership in similar formats with the European Union, Japan, and South Korea. Dear ladies and gentlemen, on this stage, we have no some high expectation, but the platform of C5+1 might be used for intensive dialogue and exchanging views on the issues of mutual interest, and so to achieve the common goal, the peaceful and sustainable development of our countries and peoples through ensuring the regional security and stability, intensification of the trade, economic and investment cooperation, and the building of civil society. We have a very busy schedule, and I'm not going to speak too much in my welcoming speech, and to save time for exchanging views on regional issues, security, and other issues which we have in our agenda. Once again, thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your attention and for your hospitality.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here, and thank you for those thoughts. I now introduce the Foreign Minister of Kyrgyzstan, Foreign Minister Erlan Abdullayev.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary of State, dear colleagues, dear participants of today's meeting. First of all, I would like to join my colleagues in thanking our American friends for the hospitality and organizing the second C5+1 ministerial meeting in Washington. This year, we are celebrating two significant events: 25th anniversary of independence of Central Asian states, as well as the 25th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the Central Asian states and the United States of America. These dates are naturally leading us to make an analysis of the past that we have gone through and determine priorities for our joint work in the future. Kyrgyzstan believes the development of full-scale regional cooperation is, first of all, the priority for the Central Asian states. That is why comprehensive discussion of agenda issues should be preceded with a due, advanced and depth in consideration of working level. Central Asian states should maintain an active dialogue, because without meaningful and diligent analysis of outstanding problems and searching for their solution, it is unlikely to achieve breakthroughs in our cooperation. In view of this, we are very grateful for the United States for their support. As we agreed in Samarkand last year, the C5+1 format should be aimed at strengthening mutual understanding and trust, encouraging good neighborly relations and friendship, ensuring security and stability in the region, as well as promoting trade and economic cooperation in Central Asia. Its mission is to complement and to make it our own contribution in the integration process in our region. Promoting trade and economic, as well as the water and energy cooperation in the region, is a key interest for the Kyrgyzstan. It is vital that we move from declarations and discussions to practical implementation of concrete joint projects. We are also interested in bringing American companies with new technologies and modern production capacities to our region. We stand for the building mutually beneficial relations with the Central Asian countries, as well as with the United States for the long run, and based on the mutual respect of each other's interests. Dear colleagues, we have all necessary conditions for full-fledged functioning of C5+1. 3 working groups have already been launched. Today we will adopt a second joint declaration, which is aimed at strengthening our interaction and highlights the key directions for our cooperation for the future. Using this opportunity, I would like also to officially invite all participants of today's meeting to the second World Nomad Games, which will be held in September 3rd in Kyrgyz Republic. In conclusion, I wish the C5+1 platform a success, constructive discussions and productive outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erlan. I now introduce the Foreign Minister of Kazakhstan, Erlan Idrisov.
Thank you very much, dear friends. Mr. Secretary of State John Kerry, I, of course, am very happy to be here back in Washington, D.C. John, thank you very much for elevating all of us to new diplomatic heights. We hope we deserve that. Of course, I join my brothers from Central Asia in thanking the government of the United States and you, John, personally for hosting and being behind this important initiative. We believe that the new format of dialogue C5+1 is very timely and useful. The symbolism of our meeting is that 2016 is the year when we all mark 25th anniversaries of our independence. We mark the 25th anniversary of the diplomatic relations we struck with the United States. We bilaterally with the United States mark the 25th anniversary of the closure of the nuclear testing site in C5+1, where we partnered with the United States enormously to remove the evil of nuclear disaster. We also mark with the United States the 15th anniversary of our energy partnership dialogue, which is a new and very important avenue of our bilateral cooperation. I think it is quite important that we have these anniversary dates, and we thank the government of the United States for being with us all these years, for supporting our growth and independence, for supporting our coming of age. These were very important years where we laid down the foundations of our future life. Therefore, we always will be thankful and appreciative for the friendly shoulder the United States offered to us throughout all these years. I believe Secretary Kerry has identified important key areas on which we agreed to focus, 5 areas of important priorities which we all share. Of course, they relate to security situation in the region. Counterterrorism is at the top of the agenda of the entire world. Trade facilitation, particularly inter-regional trade facilitation, is of great importance for economic growth and development. I think indispensable to that is developing intra-regional and extra-regional connectivity, on which we also agreed to have a special project. It is quite important that 2 projects will be devoted to the climate change issues, and we thank the government of the United States for the intention to help to build capacity in our nations to address the priorities of the Paris Agreement. I am very proud to be coming to Washington from New York. Yesterday I signed the Paris Agreement on behalf of our government. I met with Pan Ki-moon, Secretary General Pan Ki-moon, and I committed ourselves to ratify the agreement as early as it is possible, but definitely before the end of this year. I believe this is an important initiative, and the area of environment and climate change are of great importance to all of us if you all talk about sustainable development for the future. In all of these areas, Kazakhstan is pioneering in many respects. We are very proud and privileged to be the first Central Asian state to take the seat of the non-permanent member of the Security Council from January 2017. Our priorities within the Security Council completely coincide with our vision within our C5+1 dialogue. We are very proud to host the Global International Exhibition Expo 2017 in the summer of 2017, the topic of which completely coincides with the priorities of the Paris Agreement and what we will do within our 2 projects, which we agreed upon. I am very proud that today formally at our meeting we will formally launch these 5 projects. I would like to thank the government of the United States for committing resources to carry out these projects. We hope that this project will be a litmus test for us, for our ability to work together and develop a regional approach in addressing issues of common importance. And we hope that these first 5 projects will be just a jump start for future cooperation within this very important format. I would like to say that C5+1 in our hope will have a long life, irrespective of imminent natural changes of political landscapes in our countries. We hope for that, and for that matter we lay down the basic principles and priorities of our cooperation for the long future. We believe that this dialogue will be complementary to other efforts which are being done in the region. We have immediate neighbors to the north, to the east, to the south. We have other formats with which we partner with different other geographies in the world. We have the similar format with the European Union. We have a similar format with Japan, South Korea, and we are absolutely sure that the zeal and vigor and wisdom with which the United States is initiating this C5+1 dialogue will be very complementary to what we do with our partners in the world. As you rightly said, John, President Obama and Prime Minister of Singapore highlighted the importance of global approach, collective family approach. And with this C5+1 format, we hope that we will show to the world that we can develop this family spirit in addressing common interests and common challenges of our part of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erlan, very, very much. Appreciate it. And now, finally, the last minister to speak will be the Foreign Minister of Tajikistan, Sirajuddin Yaroslav. Excuse me, I'm sorry, blank moment. Sirajuddin.
Thank you. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. First of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the Secretary of State and his dedicated team for organizing C5+1 ministerial meeting and for warm hospitality. I am also grateful to our partners for their work within the working groups in preparing substantial projects based on our previous discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, this year we will celebrate the 25th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations with the United States. The new format of engagement in the framework of C5+1 is a positive example of our bilateral and multilateral developing ties. It is clear that countries of Central Asia facing common threats and challenges, such as international terrorism and extremism, radicalization, drug trafficking, and economic financial turbulences. My government is taking the necessary measures to overcome these challenges while working closely with partners in providing safety and security, ensuring prosperity and sustainable development, strengthening the rule of law and democratic principles in the country. It is obvious that without partnership and cooperation, it is difficult to overcome the above-mentioned challenges. In fact, the U.S. involvement in Central Asia will contribute to the economic prosperity and regional stability. I believe the U.S. entrepreneurship, investment, technology, and expertise could contribute to the stability and economic social development of the region. Tajikistan is confident that C5+1 engagement will give us an opportunity to move towards new horizons of cooperation between the countries of Central Asia and the United States of America. I am sure that our collaborative efforts and common approach will succeed in strengthening our multilateral partnership for the benefit of our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sirajuddin. I appreciate that. And that will bring to the close the open part of this session. As the press packs up to depart, we'll take a couple of minutes just to shift seats. But I also want to, if I can, just thank Assistant Secretary Nisha Biswal and her team. We are particularly grateful, William Todd and Daniel Rosenblum and company. They've done a lot of work, and she's really followed up diligently on the meetings that we had in Samarkand, and I'm very appreciative to her and her whole team for all of their efforts here. So with that, why don't we take a moment, if I could ask my colleague ministers to shift to their delegations, and then we'll begin into the first session in a couple of minutes. Thanks.